Spirit fans, come. Oh my God. Okay, never mind.
Perfect
Guest
timing.
appearance.
Stay again.
Okay. Spirit fans, come here. We're here with the cyber tourist, Hooch, our favorite insider, the actual insider over here. This time we're going to be diving into Spirit, a general conversation about, what's going on with them? Are they actually playing good right now? Are they ready for the major? Right now, do you even have them as a favorite for the major, Hooch? Would you say they're
Hello
in contention?
guys, hello viewers. Well, I think kind of yes, but for me, like Vitality and Falcons are more obvious favorites. But I think that the win at PGL Astana was really important for them, and they can work from that. So I think they were obviously one of favorites and the main contender for the title. But looking how good Vitality now, it's gonna be a hard task.
Okay, Harry, we've got your classic meme slide. This one, just no help for donk, eh?
Well, I mean, it's being a little bit facetious, a little bit. But I think it's the main thing I've noticed watching Spirit this year is basically that donk is as good as ever. He's always going to be that guy for pretty much any game. And the only time he drops off a little bit is he goes from like a 140 rating to a 130 rating against the best teams in the world. And Vitality, it's 115 in 8 maps. And that's for donk, really bad, right? But the rest of the team are all below 1. So this is basically the kind of situation they're in after winning the major last year, is that it was very obvious that donk carrying, magixx overperforming a little bit. There was a team there that could win a major, but now the scene is so much stronger with these Falcons of Vitality kind of ultra super teams that are just so well balanced across the board, that I think the formula that got Spirit their last major is crumbling a little bit, even though all the players are probably playing pretty similar to they were last year. They've not changed, everyone else has just got better. But I think it's easy to take donk for granted. So I just wanted to start the show by a few charts that prove why we really shouldn't be taking donk for granted ever. So this first one, that's everyone's 2 favorite basic stats: kills, damage. Donk is still better than Zyro with that. Kills in round wins, damage in round wins. Donk is still the best in that. And then next one, opening kills, still the best in the world by far. It's like 0.02 to Xerxen. Multi-kills, he's the best in that. Even when you do, because some people call him an eco-fragger, even when you adjust for the economy for multi-kills, he's the best in that. And then I think the last one, the only time Zyro starts to creep in is when you start including round swing, which is basically how impactful kills are, and it matters if you die. In terms of actual output, no one can compete with donk, even Zyro this year. The difference with Zyro is just that when Zyro gets a 2k, he doesn't die. Donk will get his 2k and then die, right? It's a different thing. So I think no one would argue that donk has been better than Zyro this year. I think that would be a ridiculous argument to make for anyone. It's just, we cannot take this donk guy for granted of how good he consistently is, and how these numbers are completely ridiculous. It's a 2018 spreadsheet, and I know it's maybe a little bit to do with CS2 and things, but in 2018 no one was getting 0.9 kills per round. That just wasn't a thing. So I think it's important to set this context, because if you're talking about Spirit, it needs to be a team that can compete with Vitality, because you've got a player, you've probably got the only player who can match Zyro every single game. I think m0NESY, as much as I will always maintain he had a better year than Zyro last year, I think the actual ceiling, I think it is a 2-man's game in 2025 for sure. It's Zyro and donk. So this is how I want to start the show. And what more can donk do, basically?
You mentioned a really important thing about last major. It was magixx who stood up really hard in playoffs. I was watching it live in Shanghai, and I was amazed by how good he was at that point. There were a lot of rumors coming about changes before the major if they don't win. And Boris stood up really strong. If you remember quarterfinal and semifinal, he was outstanding. That is the stats for him at major, right?
Yeah. So this is just quickly, this was it was the major playoffs where he was amazing anyway. And then I think it was Vu might have been the one pointing it out. But when you limit the stats to just full buy v full buy, magixx was even better than donk in those playoffs, I think. He was 0.8 KPR. It's just 94 ADR. This is insane numbers for magixx to be putting out. But yeah, carry on.
Well, yeah, I agree with you that like having these stats at donk, like someone need to stand up if you want to win a major. But I mean, like it's more about like confidence coming to this tournament because like last matches you mentioned that they have really low statistics against Vitality. How many maps did they win out of these matches? One? Or
Two, I think.
Two
or three.
So I think it's really hard to have a good statistics while you have two maps in 8 matches, and like that's why they're so low. I mean, I think like Zontix and magixx should be the key for them on this tournament if they want to win, because Chopper is playing always like pretty on the same level in important matches. He stands up, and you can't expect him to be like putting in big numbers. So I think Shearer is pretty stable and good upper. So I think it's about Zontix and magixx coming to this tournament. If they come with a good moral, good confidence, they're gonna be dangerous. They can help him. I hope so.
Why do you feel like that's been missing, or what do you feel like has been missing for them just individually? It doesn't really seem like it's just individual form. Like the decisions during their games, the way they're playing overall, just seems like it's not even close to the way they were together last year.
Yeah, I agree. Like Zontix last year was much more better, and in some tournaments he was playing super good, but like during last time they're not stable at all. I don't really know what the problem is. I think like they're every team refreshed and they're working with their own demons, you know. So now like it's about how they prepare for this tournament. But as I have said, that winning Astana can make them confident, and it wasn't an easy win, you know. They have to stood up against NIP. They had a really bad match on Dust 2. They came back on their one of the strongest maps. And talking about final, the moral advantage was on Australia's side at 1 point, and in the most hard situations they stood up. So I think it's very important, and Halle mentioned it's in the after game winning talk that it was really important win for them. So I think talking about confidence, they're pretty confident, but it's really terrifying how they're gonna challenge Vitality at this point, because watching all these tournaments, I don't know how to stop this machine.
I think that's exactly the right point, is that, you know, Spirit have everything you need to win a major because they've already done it, right? They've got the superstar player. They've got this amazing home map of Dust 2 where, other than that NIP scare, like I think they've lost it like twice all year and won like 17 or something crazy. So it's like they've got Shiro, who's an absolutely amazing AWPer in a stable base, as much as he gets a lot of stick for it. Like I think there's enough there. I just think we're in a completely different scene than we were last year. I think it's just the ceiling has got higher, and I think Zontix has always been Zontix and magixx, right? They're not too similar in terms of like the way they actually play, but in terms of the role they fulfill, it's almost like having two supportive pieces who are designed to get the most out of donk and to a lesser extent Shiro. So I just think, what do you think do you think it's possible to have a different type of profile for one of those two support players? Like, do you think if you had a star lurker, would donk play worse? Like, do you think it's just a necessary thing for Spirit to have those two supportive players?
Yeah, I think it's really important for them to set up, but you mentioned the thing that like they don't change so much. I think it's a big problem for Spirit, because some of the teams like can prepare for them but can't overplay their aggressive players, and some of the teams with good analysts, you know, right now there is like analyst, second coach, everyone is like super prepared, and the thing is Spirit doesn't change much. So they need to prepare something to surprise people in important matches. And talking about Zontix and magixx, yes, as I have said, it's on them. It's on them, because I'm sure donk won't underperform, and I think Shiro will be playing really good. So Chopper, we can't expect him to be putting big numbers as any IGL right now. So I think about these two guys, and like I think it's a key moment for this lineup, because if they doesn't succeed, they will then understand that every team that's better them at this point, like it's Vitality or Falcons, everyone may change, and Mouse may change. So everyone may change, and they will just necessary to make it. Also, I think one of the points that can be hard for them, like their decision not to make bootcamps. Like
Yeah.
at one point, it's a good thing because spending too much together, me as a professional player and ex-coach, I know it's really hard, but it's something you need to sacrifice, something you need to do. Like because on these boot camps, you craft your future titles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that point because touching on just being prepared for these events and preparing against these teams, boot camps are kind of crucial for a lot of teams to even, it's not even always about strategy. They've talked about not getting on each other's nerves or, not bugging each other because that's the reason they don't boot camp. When you don't have that chemistry out of the game, that also does affect the in-game elements of it as well.
I do agree. It's a really big point. Chemistry outside the game, I think can be one of the key moments. And like watching what Apex do for the team, like he's just doing a lot. And I think in one point they're it's important for them not to bootcamp because they're tired of each other. But the thing is that modern esport, like you are always spending a lot of time with each other during the year, and you just can't dismiss it. You just can't not see each other all the days. So for me, like I think it's very important to work your real problems on the boot camps, like talk, because when you're talking, like even now we're talking with each other with webcams. When they're talking there, maybe they're talking TeamSpeak. It's much more different when you talk to person face to face and you open and sometimes you need to have these hard talks, like saying like, guys, we're not doing this, and to take it as a man, and you can become a stronger. It's important in everywhere, in friendship, in relationship, and in sports everywhere. So I think in one point it's good for them not having boot camps, but I think can be crucial because other teams having boot camps, other teams crafting something for their future titles.
I think that when I saw the Chopper quote, I was just like, it reminds me of the Roy Keane quote. I don't know if either of you follow football, but it's just do your job. Do your job, right? It's your job. Your job is to go to these boot camps and to prepare properly. It doesn't really, I mean, you might look at it, and I know that they've been quite smart about skipping events, for example. I think that's a decision that is a good one that more teams should be doing. But I think this one, like if you can't sit in a room together for a week before the major, like I think there's something really wrong there. I think that's like, it might not be fun, but there's no way you can have a better result without having all this time to strategize and getting used to sitting next to each other again and being able to, look over each other's shoulder and see that everyone's practicing enough and practicing the areas that you want. Because Spirit has, like when you follow Spirit around an event and they've got the whole staff there, like they've got their analysts, their psychologists, everyone follows them around. I feel like that's the type of thing that would benefit you if you were in that type of environment for longer before going into a tournament like this. Because like we said earlier, to beat Vitality, like you're not going to be able to do that just by donk playing a few more FACEIT games at home. Like it's baffling to me.
But I think it can work at one point because, you never judge the teams before they actually play the tournaments. Maybe they know something like which is better for the team right now. They already become a major winners, they won a lot of titles, and maybe at this point like their coaching staff and IGL decided it's going to be a better choice. If we talk about major, sometimes it's different approach. I know the teams that were fighting each other before the tournament, the teams that they said to each other, after this tournament we go separate ways, and they won. So I think like the major is totally different. Maybe they understood that it's a better way now because maybe the heat is so high in the team right now, so it's better to not gather together. But as I said, they won't do something on purpose. They understand what they're doing, and I think we just should wait and then see if it was the right decision or not.
Yeah, it's a safer approach, that's for sure.
Yes, because
you know what else going to happen, and it's the thing with majors especially. I think because it's all beer free all the way through. Like it's like the reason CS is exciting is because surprises do happen, right? And that the game is random enough that you never know. Someone could knock Vitality out early, and then Spirit could just beat other teams. Like it's not 100% essential for them to beat Vitality or Falcons to win this major. And I think that's, like someone like Mouse, I could see beat everyone else, lose to Spirit in the final. Like that's not impossible. It's more just if you want to be sustainably winning these really, really big trophies, I just don't see a world where Spirit can climb that gap to Vitality and Falcons right now. And I don't know if I'm just too pessimistic. with
But
that.
you mentioned football, and a lot of things happened when super favorites dropped down in the World Cups, when there was like everyone was expecting them to win. And let's remind ourselves when the last time we had such an obvious favorite for the major, when it was. And do we remember some things when we had a super favorite and it just crumbled? We had something like in the past like that. And as you mentioned, this storyline where the Vitality could lose to Mouse and Mouse could lose to Spirit, for me, it can happen. But the thing is, like, Vitality is looking so strong right now. But the thing is, like, all win streaks, they end sooner or less, you know? And everyone is expecting, like, I don't think it's a pressure now on Vitality, but now it's like a must-go win for them. Like, who they gonna change? Falcons, Spirit, Mouse. That's it. I don't think Aurora or like who's else there. Face with
Mongols.
Sasha, Mongols are good enough to stay this confident. Mongols still like searching their truth on the stage, because one day they play so good on PGL Astana. I was pretty sure they're gonna beat Aurora. I don't know what happened. I just don't. I'd like different team playing. So I think it's gonna be a really hard task for Spirit, to be honest. But maybe they're cooking something. I don't know.
If we take this out of the context of the major and we just take it into the rest of the year overall, isolate or remove the isolation of the fact that this is going to be the major where they might be able to perform better, do you actually see them, sustaining wins against these kind of teams for the rest of the year? Because the form they showed so far doesn't really give me any hope.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you. But as we said, in history, there is a lot of things happened when the team was struggling before the major. Like, they were like fighting for every win, and on PGL tonight was a hard tournament for them. So it doesn't make confidence from the outside, but such wins, when you sometimes on the tournaments you win such a hard match, you understand your problems, you stay strong as a team, you like don't give up, and this gives you confidence later. So maybe they like fix their problems during this tournament. I mean, winning this PGL wasn't in fashion. Like, we can agree with, like, it was 3-0 final. Maybe we said yes, it was confident, but I think it's a better win for them because they didn't crumble.
What did you make of donk? Kind of the way he was on that trophy lift and the MVP photo and everything, like where he just kind of, he was so focused on the team playing below what he expected of them, basically. Like, he didn't really care about the trophy at all.
We had the talk with Donk. I said like that now it's an era of good guys, and it's really important sometimes to stay calm and to your teammates, because not everyone like is so good as you. And he said that like he's pretty confident in himself, and that like everyone in the team need to be on the same page, and you need to like to work on pressure. I think maybe at some point, if they're really good, and they're good, I don't know how it works in their team, but for me in some points such situations could could make my mood not so good. But I think it's more like a sign for them, guys, you need to step up. It's like it's a way of him showing the team that they need to perform better. For me personally, I think it's not the best way, but he's the number one player now, and he understands better what to do. And maybe after some years he will understand it was right move or not. I don't know, but he has ability to do it because he's one of the best.
One of the other
me,
things.
Sorry, I will finish.
You go.
And for me, it's really important. Like I was talking a lot with the like ex-Navi players about that. Like you need to be an example for everyone. For me, like it's really important now. Like you need. I don't think Zaiwu does things like that, and that's the difference between them. And I think it's really important because as a true leader in your team and like a superstar player, you need to be example in a good way, not to like blame your guys if they are not performing good. In my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe there's a middle ground between like the classic Zaiwu beaming in his MVP photo when they just lost? Like that's how I think of Zaiwu sometimes. He's just he can always pull a smile up. Whereas donk wins the major, he's like, oh, it was as expected, right? Like it's kind of these elite players. Like I find it interesting how different they actually are sometimes.
Yeah, it's totally different because before. In CS scene, everyone thought that behaving bad to your teammates is a normal thing. A lot of players refer to Last Dance. Like, look at Michael Jordan. He was like very strong with his teammates. And when I worked with Boomich in One Win, at some point he was not doing his job as I wanted him to do. And he said like, "Oh, you didn't know what happened in my past teams." I said, "I don't care what happens in your past teams. You like the guys expecting you to be leader, to the guy who give advices. Like, so you need to be a really good example for them." And he became one.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you as well, is from the outside, it's hard to know, like, how would you describe like the leadership situation inside Spirit? Because I kind of look at it and it's like clearly Chopper's in-game leader, captain and everything. And Hallie's obviously, like, I almost see it, they have more leaders out of the server. Like the team talks, it's their psychologist doing it a lot of the time. It's obviously Hallie a lot of the time. But then like in the server, sometimes I look at it and I think, like, I know Shira can step up and sometimes be that kind of voice they need, but I think there's a lot of pressure on Chopper to be the sole leader, the sole guy that people rely on in terms of for leadership mid-game when things are going wrong. Like, do you think any of the other players can step up more? Am I reading it wrong from the outside?
I think it's a really hard task for Lyonya at this point. Like for any IGL, he need to work on tactics, on mood and everything, like, and on his personal game, obviously. But I think Shira is one guy who should step up in this point because he has a big experience of playing on big matches. And Zontix, he's not so vocal, but in some points he can say something. And magixx is like one of the guys who bring the mood to the team. I think like during the games, he's not like carrying much from my point of view, but I think outside the game they have really strong mental team. Their psychologist is very strong. He's always boosting his team to the limits. He's pushing to the limits like all the time. Hallie is a really good psychologist besides being a good coach in game. But in such strong moments, I think like being a good leadership for me. I think the team shows itself at the strong moments when you are losing. Like, because during the game, the most stupid shit can happen. Like, really, like you can lose the most stupid round in the world, but the most important thing, how you react to that. You always need to think about next round, and if you stay in the past, that's going to be a tough one for you. So I think they need to be prepared mentally, and maybe like this move when they don't go to bootcamp, when they can spend time with their relatives, friends, girlfriends and stuff outside the game can boost them actually.
I was gonna say the problem around that though is that you can boost your mood outside of the game when you're not around your teammates, but when you're actually in the server, yes, you have Chopper as a leader. It just doesn't feel like there's an emotional leader outside of Hallie in the timeouts when they're playing. Like if their mood does go down during games, sometimes you don't see it come back up. Like you can read their body language on the player cams; they're all deflated. And so when it comes to that kind of side of things, like how do you see them actually recovering during matches once the mood is starting to go down? Because sometimes it doesn't really look like it. Even if they win, even if they're down, 7-11, 5-11, and they come back, you don't see the same kind of reactions on their faces than you would from, like a Vitality or even a FaZe. Any of these teams that actually have, emotional leaders. And I think they need a bit more of like the emotional side, at least from the positive side in the game.
I think one of the things that you mentioned, it's really important now that they need to find a guy who will be moral booster in such strong moments. I think it's one of the things they're talking about most, besides their game, obviously. So I think it's very important to prepare that some of the players will stay strong and vocal in the most important moments. Talking about their body language, okay, last 3 events, we can say that, but before I can't agree on that because they made a really lot of good comebacks. And let's not forget that we have one of the strongest teams now in like whole time of CS, and they're playing against them. And it's really hard to stay like strong mentally when the guys outplaying you, outperforming you in most important matches. And those mistakes you do during these games, like they collect, and it's really hard because of this tight schedule. They don't have time to work on it, and skipping on some of the tournaments made them a good decision. But now I think that the only thing they care about is their moral. They won't change much in game, but I think they should have like tried something to surprise other teams in the most important matches. But I think the most important thing, working on moral. And that's the job for Hali, Chopper, and their psychologist. So I think it's like that. But as I've said, it's really important to understand that they lost last two tournaments. They were top 3-4, right? They lost 2 times to Vitality and 1 time to Mouse. And obviously, like, they could have a better body language. But I think it's a problem of any team at some point. If we rewatch some tournaments for the team losing winning some tournaments before and then losing 3 tournaments in a row, we won't see like them being excited in crucial moments. So maybe on the first tournament, yes, but when it's second or third, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm. Even like Falcons in Bucharest, like they didn't look very happy when they were 0-2, but then when you win the tournament, even cutting Dexter, they were thrilled, right? So I think it is a similar thing, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like it's because of they knew that they're gonna have changes.
Yes.
This, at some point, it like makes you feel freer. When I was playing my last tournament with Gambit at Adrenaline Cup, when we won against Flipside and Spirit and Tengri, like I knew that I'm gonna get removed, and I played one of the best events. We had one of the best events together because we understood that it was like last dance. So I think at that point it's a little bit different for Falcons. But before, let's talk about their body language and like ignoring Zonic. At some points, a lot of critics said that what is Zonic doing there? But I do understand how it's hard when you're losing event, and you look silly at this point. But now they're better.
And I think the point you raised is really important as well about, this. It's easy to be quite critical of Spirit because they came into 2025 as #1 major winners, right? But they're only losing to the real best teams in the world. Like you said, it's Mao's Vitality, sometimes Falcons, and they've always struggled a little bit against Nico and m0NESY together. Like that's always kind of been a thing for Donk, especially. So I think it's important to set that out as, they're still a top 4 team easily, but also they don't seem that happy with just being a top 4 team. Like I don't think it's us saying from the outside that they should be less happy. I think they've, like, clearly Donk at least, they very much believe that they should still be #1. And I think that's an important thing that you want them to be doing ahead of the major. Like they still believe they can be #1. I think that's important.
But let's not forget that Donk is still a young person. Like he's outstanding player, probably will be one of the best in the future, like for the whole time. And he has really like strong opponents like Zaivu at the point. But let's not forget that he's still young, and we expect him to be a super leader, a super guy who's always calm and stuff. He's ambitious. He wants to win every tournament. And at that point, like when I was young, at some points I was really bad teammate. Like I was playing like the best. I was the best player in the team, and I wasn't performing during team talks and stuff. I was expecting my teammates to play same good as me, but they did not. And instead of that, I wasn't behaving good. So I think we shouldn't like make a point that Donk is like really depressed or doesn't like what's going on. He's just eager to win. He wants to win every tournament, and his normal reaction to expect more from his teammates because he's still a young person.
If we move out of the more emotional side of things and talk a little about the game, where do you actually see that coming from outside of, like the individual players? Do you see that they have issues, more on CTT? From watching their games, what have you seen as their core issues right now?
What the question one more time? Sorry.
So what do you see as Spirit's like actual core issues outside of the emotional side of the game and outside of, like Zontic's magixx needing to step up a little? Is there, like a T side issues, CT side issues? Do you see like something specifically wrong with them that you think that they need to address going into this major?
No, some teams like they have a quite deep playbook, but it's for me watching their games, so I see the pretty same scenarios all the time. I mean, like I'm not saying that they have bad tactics or bad AGL, but they're like it's their approach. They see the game like this. Like we have our own game, we have our defaults. We're gonna do it. Like we know what happens in this situation, this situation, this situation. So I think at some point they need to surprise teams because some of the teams can just adapt to them. And when magixx and Zontic is not performing, and team you're playing against, for example, Vitality or Falcons, and they know how you play, so you need to rely only like on Donk, super performance, and Shiro. So I think talking about their game, I might would add something like spicy, something like teams wouldn't expect. But it's their style, and with this style, they won a lot of tournaments. And you mentioned, right, Gary, that we expect them to be super good because they come one of the best teams to this year. They won the major, and we just expect them. And now we see Vitality, and comparing to Vitality, of course, Vitality looks like a #1 team, and Spirit is underperforming. But it's just the matter of time. And I think in the major, like, surprise can happen because world championships and football world championships, majors in CS, they always deliver with something like unexpected. And I hope this can be one more win for Spirit. I hope so. I'm going to cheer for them. That's it.
I think one of the things I've noticed is I really like how they play Dust 2 and how they use donk on CT side, because I think on a lot of the maps, like, I always think of Mouse on Nuke when they just always seem to know exactly where donk is. Like, I think Spirit thrive when donk is surprising the opponents. And I don't mean that in just terms of like pure aggression. Like, obviously on Dust 2 he can rush mid, whatever. I more mean they're very good at putting him in pockets and having him being baited in by these kind of naturally supportive players. And I think that's something that they're able to do better just because of the way Dust 2 is laid out than on other maps. Like on Nuke, you know, you can hide donk in rafters on upper as much as you want, but they're not going to go there. Like on Dust 2, it's much easier to hide him long and places like that. So I think it's like on that map, I think that it'd be really important in the series against Falcons and Vitality, because they're both so good at Dust 2 as well. Like, I think the key for them will be adding another map where they can be as effective on CT side as they are on Dust 2 at the moment, because I think that's probably the only one where I'd say I'm really scared of their CT side. Like, for me, they feel more like a T side team often. Do you think that's fair?
On Dust 2, yeah, but I just remember how they played against Navi, and they were doing always the same pistol, and Blade prepared 2 Molotovs and flashes against donk in lower. And when they're gonna play Dust 2, they're gonna be expecting such things like his super aggressive style, or making, like you said, pocketing him at some point. So yes, they need another map, and I think they should go for some unexpected map. People won't like be expected.
Could it be Train?
I think it can be really good because this maps actually fits their donk and their playstyle. But if you look at tournament, they made the same pistol every time. Donk behind the Electro, and some of the teams just countered it. So I think they just need, like,
they're not reinventing enough.
Reinventing. I think sometimes they need to bite their opponents, thinking that it's the same. But you know, Counter-Strike works like that. I always remember this EVC when I was casting for Fisher, and I was in Saudi Arabia at that point, and I watched Furia, and there was a strange system when you played BO1 in winners and then BO3 in losers, and they played 6 times the same pistol ST on Nuke, and even on the last tournament they played the same A execute, and no one even care. I don't know. So I think now maybe like this works, you know. There is a saying that you should fear the guy who learns the same punch 1,000 times, but some guys know how to block this punch and to prepare for it. So for me, key moment, talking about, now we don't talk about moral, we talk about game. I think they need to prepare something, to cook something like people won't expect, and one of this should be a new map, one of the maps, and probably it's going to be Train, or maybe Anubis. But Donk says he doesn't like Anubis, and it's very hard for him to display
I almost feel like it should be Ancient. I feel like the way that they, like, to your point, they're running a lot of the same things on Ancient as well. And I think teams have a very good read as to what they're doing. Whenever you watch them, like, it's not always a specific same strategy, but, you know, the same general way they rotate after they start out a round, or the way they have a certain opener and then they have players repositioned. It seems like it's very well read by a lot of teams. And I think because Ancient is such a staple map for a lot of teams, they're willing to leave it in the veto. They're willing to, a lot are willing to pick it. They're going to get caught out on that, I think, if they haven't reinvented the same way you're saying.
Yeah, but I think they have a lot of time to prepare it, because you know, even we are like experts talking about this right now. I'm joking, guys. You're experts, obviously. I'm cyber tourist. If even we mention that, they probably understand it, you know. And some people, like, they have a lot of teams, a lot of guys working for them. So I think they understand it. They understand that they need to prepare something. and they will. I'm pretty sure about that.
But is it almost more like, obviously, like we're just saying, like Hallie's a smart guy, Chopper's a smart guy. They know that they need to come in fresh with things. So why do you think they have kind of not reinvented? Do you think it's just a lack of practice time, or do you think maybe it's something deeper about the way the players actually like to play? That maybe they're like, okay, I don't care if they know we're doing it. I want to play E-box on this pistol. It's where I like playing.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe it's like the coaching staff or something just needs to be a bit more kind of authoritative in terms of saying, I don't really care where you're comfortable. We need to do things a little bit different. And even if you're less comfortable, we might be more effective. So why do you think they haven't reinvented yet? Because they know they should, right?
I agree with you that I like, first of all, the team structure is good in Spirit. Everything is, the coach is most important, IGL is important, and players obviously important. But sometimes they give the positions and for the players. I think it's just their philosophy of the playing. Like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna play this pistol 10 times. We're gonna be in 10 different situations. In all 10 different situations, we're gonna know what we're gonna do. Okay, they're gonna counter first guy, but we know what to do if he dies. So I think it's just their philosophy, playing this game, and it worked, and it can work in the future. But as I have said, I'm just a little bit afraid that some teams will counter it, and if you know that the guy plays the same setup, five pistols, and gonna do 6 times, they're gonna be prepared for that. So I think they're just confident in their game, confident in what they're doing. Not changing much, relying on their structure or defaults or their executes, but it can be a problem if the people don't click good.
Harry, I want to highlight a slide that you'd prepared beforehand, which was just talking about Zontix as a CT merchant, as you say.
Yeah, I think he is. I think it was last year too. This isn't a new thing, but Zontix is much better on CT side than he is on T side. And I think it's easy to put, a very simple explanation is he doesn't aim at the head, and that's fine with an M4A1S, and it's less fine with an AK. But I think it does go deeper than that. I think it is, he puts himself in better positions on CT side a lot of the time. I think on T side, the way Spirit's system is, especially in 2025, is that Zontix and magixx will be entering donk second in and chopper throwing a lot of the utility. So Zontix does have a tough job on T-side. He's not, you compare him to some of the people who play his T-side roles. He's not a star lurker. He's not Rops playing for himself a lot of the time. It's a very different job that Zontix has. But I do think it's this thing where, in my head, it's like Zontix is a good player to have as your third star because he's very selfless. He's very good in anchor spots on CT side. But on T side, I think sometimes you just want that little bit more from him, in terms of just having high output. I think that is my main issue with Zontix.
What is air swing?
So R swing is it's round swing. So are you familiar with Letify rating? It's kind of similar to that. It's like a HLTV version of Letify rating where each kill gets a score. So it's so say it's a 5v5, you get an opening kill that increases your win probability from 50% to 73%. So and that kill is worth 0.23, right?
Yeah, let's look at the T, sorry. So he has bad really, yes, as T, as you mentioned. So he's
barely positive.
So I think it's a key point which you mentioned. Sorry for interrupting, because I want to know what is R swing. Let's talk about Robs. For me, it's one of the kind players. It's really hard to compare anyone to him, because if you watched his games before and now, this guy, you can treat him sometimes on nuke he can play super passive and show some nades and go super passive and let he understand that he can be pushed and at some point. At some games he goes out the hut when the people do the pressure on the yard, or he can go out ramps, or he go out outdoors. So you never expect him, you never understand how he gonna play at some certain moment. And talking about Zontix, you mentioned that sometimes it's less aggression. Sometimes you need to make moves as T, as a lurker, to bring some firepower, some opening sites for your team. So I think that's a really key point at this moment. He needs at some points to play unpredicted.
But I think it's a team thing. I think Like, I think obviously if you have Rops on your team, you play differently, right? But I also think it's a structural thing of Spirit want to keep their lurkers alive so that they can entry in front of donk a lot of the time. I think it doesn't feel like they've got a similar amount of freedom as maybe some other teams have for their lurkers. Like, it almost feels like a deliberate decision. And I don't know whether it's because just to try and make donk feel better, or if it's more of a thing of they don't really trust their lurkers to have as much freedom as, say, a Spinks or a Rops has on some of these kind of Western European teams. Like, I don't know what you think.
It's a good point. It's really hard to understand. It's about like letting donk play first all the time, so he take the fights. But I think this structure can be punished really hard. I just remember how we played against when I was coaching Intropic, and we were playing against Virtus Pro, and Yekindar was maybe one of the primest moment of his career, but at some games, like, we just knew that he's the only one who's gonna take fights, and we took like 4 guys against him because we understood that other guys won't do anything. And I don't really know. Maybe it's like their style to not to use aggressive lurkers at some points and to wait for donk to make the difference. But I don't know. It's really hard. Like, if you know the player do the same move and he's not supported by some, you don't expect like someone to go outside B or outside A with after contact on middle, for example, on Mirage. Then you can fully focus on the middle. You can use a lot of nades, flashes, and like counter one specific guy. And this like is not good for you because you don't have other options if he doesn't make kills. So I don't know the answer for this, but I think this can be a crucial point in their game.
So the thing is, even once it seems like Spirit does structure a lot around donk, like you were saying, but the point around that is that they don't have other people making those moves if it's not him. That's usually to set him up. And when you have the early round, I've seen rounds where they set donk up to get into a certain spot, teams see him there, and then donk will rotate to a different spot because Spirit are trying to get him into a different spot to open up a different side of the map, but then teams will just reaggress and take the first spot back, and none of the other Spirit riflers are doing anything to actually hold that or to work off that early. And so when you don't have a second, because you have Shiro as a passive opera who's like helping support the team to have that structure, and yeah, he'd actually, like, obviously Shiro does a good job, but then you don't have anyone else being a playmaker alongside donk in a lot of those kind of positions, and it really does backfire a lot of the time, especially when they're not changing things up, as you said.
I think you brought a really nice idea, like how if you saw the rounds like that when donk was shown, for example, on middle, he understood that he was spotted up and they rotated to another point. They need to trick themselves. They need, like, not themselves, their opponents, because they need to recap their matches first of all. Because every team has habits, it's easy to understand. If they take middle, the probability of their going A, for example, is 75%. Now you know that before even you need to watch all the demos. Now you have special programs for that, so they need to watch mostly their demos. And I think it's really crucial now for them, for their analysts, to find these habits in their gameplay, to bite teams, to trick teams into these situations when they will say, oh, donk is on middle, it's going to be like this. And like when they see this, something unpredictable happens.
But we know it's like tactically teams are obviously still amazing in 2025, but I think it is also a bit more of a firepower era. Like, a lot of this conversation I think can maybe be solved by just saying, okay, look, Spirit system worked really well, it got them that 2024 major, but do they just need another playmaker? Like, is this something that isn't going to be solved by, like, because you can say maybe we need to coach Zontix and kind of lose some of that structure and say, like, Zontix and magixx, like, if you think you've got a timing, let's play on it more than you would have done previously. Like, I think that's one approach. And I think the other approach is you just slot in a star lurker and try and have a proper trio instead of a star duo. Because I think a lot of the teams do have that trio now.
Harry, we're talking about right now. After the tournament, if they won't win, I think it's pretty obvious that they will look for the changes. I think it's not a surprise for everyone. But right now, they need to work what they have, and they can't think about getting a good lurker right now. They need to understand how they approach the game right now. So I think
So what kind of change if after this major they do flop out? What kind of change would you see them making?
After.
Yes.
After, yeah.
It's hard because Kyosuke is obviously going to Falcons, and I understand his decision because he wants to play, he wants to be a star player, and it's really hard to get in the team. I can say this like pretty the same like it was in Navi when Monesi went to G2 because he understood who they can get. That's a good question, like because now if we talk about, let's open top 30 players, top 30 teams, and who we got from CIS.
So I might have prepared something.
Oh, okay.
You can go to the next slide. I've got some ideas.
Okay. So
Who do you
this
think?
is the positions. They're the same. Okay. New
Yeah.
anchor, new closer. Okay. There is actually a lot of players to choose. And you,
'Cause the team's so stacked, right? There's so much talent here.
You did a good job, obviously. Let's start with the closers first of all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some of them aren't natural closers, but they'd
you know,
have to play closer if they're in the same team as Donk.
Yeah,
so
I
that's why
don't
they're
think
here.
I don't think it's possible getting Fleet and Fame now from Virtus Pro, and they're not performing so good. Magnolia is playing good, but I don't think he's really ready for Spirit. Nier,
He is Donk's best friend, though, isn't he?
I'm not sure about that.
No?
I don't know. We're not. I'm 38.
Shout out, Stal.
38 years old. They look at me like a grandfather, at some point. Talking about Nier, yeah, I played so much with him, and he's really mentally strong, and he rised up so fast, And people talk about him who worked with him that he's really can be a tier 1 player.
He's who I'd pick, I think. I think that's who I'd want.
Yeah.
I'd want him for probably Zontic, because I think magixx is just such a crucial piece for intangible reasons, maybe. So I think if I was Spirit, I would get, how do you say it, Taneri? I don't know. Tanir. I'd get him in.
And
That's
talking
who
about,
I'd
I remember one more thing. Sorry for interrupting, but like about IG, like in-game moral. They have Zontix is like always stone cold. Like always like that. Maybe they need some of the funny guy. Because it's always important to have a guy who can boost the moral in the team. So I think it's also can be important thing. But
would Tanir be that guy?
Not sure to be honest. But talking him in real life, he was pretty easygoing.
Mm-hmm. And what about some of the other names then? Because I've been really impressed. This is maybe not. He's obviously not ready for Spirit, but I've been really impressed with his way in 2025. He's been incredible. He's like 17. It's Namiga, so they're doing the thing they did to Flamus as well, where even though he's clearly a very good player, they don't give him the spots that you traditionally see a very good player in. So I think it's just, he really seems like an up-and-comer to me, at least. What do you think?
I would pick Zweig out of these 4 guys. Obviously, I would talk to him at LAN. He's young, super confident, and at some point he reminds me myself. We have white cheeks, and I made a big boost at 17 as well. So and he was pretty calm. He was pretty watching his games, he's very talented and confident. So yeah, talking about these guys, obviously Perfect is, if we talk about all time, he's much better, but I think he didn't play a lot, and he's not like the guy who, in my opinion, I think Ilya is a great player, but I don't think he's the guy who suits Spirit. I think he should go international, in my opinion, and it would be a good choice for him. Talking about Klax, I think he made a very bad decision not joining Cloud9 when he had opportunity. I said he was really good, but he stayed with 9 Pandas, and look, now he's playing for Astrum. They had a change, and he's not so confident in himself, and the numbers, I'm pretty sure, is not so good.
Not this year, no.
Yeah, then talking about Rizal, the same problem, like losing confidence playing in another team, switching back to 9 Pandas, still finding himself. Also he said that he's changing mentally, but I think if we talk right now, he need another team before Spirit if he wants to be in them. So I think Zweig is a perfect choice if we talk about these 4 guys. In my opinion, I would pick Zweig.
Do you think he's ready?
I think, yeah. I think, magixx, when he joined Spirit, He, like, if I'm not mistaken, I saw him at LAN. He didn't even play in like big teams. He didn't play big LANs. He joined and instantly started playing good. We can talk about this point when you need to prepare mentally and stuff, but some of the players are built different, and they're ready to go for it. Like if we talk about Zaivu, he joined the Vitality after AAA, mediocre team from France. He was obviously picking good numbers. Zweig has this experience already. He played the RMR, he played some tournaments, so I think he's ready, in my opinion.
And he's got the major ahead, right? They're qualified to the major.
Yeah,
they're one of my teams. I would be pretty surprised if they didn't make it out of stage one. I think the talent that they've got, I think Zwei and Xanta are both very exciting players. And then the final one, I guess it's in-game leader. And I know you've praised Chopper, and I think it was kind of weird to me that I think it's the one thing I think the Russian-speaking scene is kind of lacking is new captains. Like, I think when I was making this, I was actually struggling to think of 4 names. I even chucked a Jame on as a rifling leader because it's just, I think a lot of people are like minus Chopper on the forums or whatever, but there's not a lot out there for them. Like Xiaofi's been benched for months. No one seems to want him. Robbo's the academy guy. I don't think he's ready.
I think there's
really.
Alpha as well.
It's
there's
definitely
Like,
Alpha.
I wouldn't change Chopper for any of these 4 names, I don't think. I think Boomich is maybe the only one you could consider because he's got that kind of experience. He's loud like Chopper is on the server. So, would you do any of these changes? You've worked with Boomich before.
Well, I think not Xiaofei totally because he's like not ready. I think for such level to play to be an IGL in tier 1. Like at some points, I saw the games. I worked with him. I think he could do better but I think like it's really hard for them. For him to handle a team like that, because playing with guys like another level, you can be confident, you can be vocal, but when you come to play with the star players, it's a different thing. Talking about Jame, with all respect, I think that's like the point when you said that we are lacking newcoming IGLs. That's why we have Jame on this list. Rob, I think, is pretty young, and he still needs times, and he's not ready and capable of managing teams like this. Talking about Boomich, my friend Boomich, I think it's a really hard decision for Spirit. He's like, it's changing ideology, changing the mentality of the team. I'm not saying he's worse than Chopper. I think they can be on the same page if you talk about the results and stuff, but I think it's just not the team for him right now, and I haven't spoken to him for a long time, so I don't really...
Like stylistically, or what do you mean?
Like, yes, that is because Boomich likes to call many things on the go, and to read the opponents, to prepare something unpredictable, like what we're saying was lacking in preparedness of team spirit. But his problem sometimes is too much, like he rely on his ideas too much.
His intuition.
Yeah, to intuition. And some of the players won't be ready for that, and they maybe don't want it because they like more structured IGL. So I think this point I would keep Chopper.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously have the joke idea of buying kyousuke back. Kyousuke. We were getting a lot of trouble for
we had so many
not
comments
saying his name right.
And I still don't know how to say it. Like,
exactly.
Saying, like you don't pronounce the U. It's like, well, how do you not pronounce the U? I don't understand.
Some of the people call him Kyosuke. I call him Kiosk because if we there is Sasuke, and if it's right spelling, it's Sasuke. So still like different names all the time. So mostly it's Kyosuke. But many people call him Semyon Bakin. It's a Russian series about young hockey team, and there is one guy who's called Semyon Bakin. It's a very funny name, but mostly Kyosuke. But I call him Kiosk. I'm anime lover. Kiosk.
Harry, you've given me unless you have something to say about Kiosk.
There you go.
You've given me a great chance to transition into our favorite segment of the HLTV forums with a new IGL you never thought of. And this thread says, minus Chopper plus Egotronic. After hearing how his lazy ass literally exploits donk completely, and also when being a complete bot on the server, I'd rather have Egotronic. actually tries to touch a tactic and doesn't lose every duel he takes. I think Chopper also has health issues, maybe one of the main reasons they skipped Melbourne. Oh, we have a reappearance from last episode. It's a reappearance from last episode. It's by Donk Enjoyer with an American flag who loves Donk.
These guys should write fanfics. I don't know. It's really strong story. Should be like movie about that.
Could you imagine that?
No, not in this universe, not in this Galactica.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I think talking about Electronic and the rumors about changing him and the team, I think like it's a hard task for him during this time. We talked about that with him, I think, like maybe half a year ago, and I said you should be more calm with this kind of players because they expect you to be. I think his problem is that he didn't make a break. He always went on after Navi. It was Cloud9, then Virtus Pro, no break, no looking back, no understanding what's right, what's wrong. I made the same mistake before when I joined Aurora after one win. I should have taken break. Now I understand it, but I was just like going downhill, and I think that's the down point for him at this moment. I really think that he's a great player and he still can come back, but he need to overlook his leadership abilities, and to make this happen he need to take a break.
We also have another suggestion, kind of on two angles that we touched on. This one says minus Chopper, and it's by Demps's alt account DempX, and it says, listen up, he is statistically the worst IGL in tier 1 stats wise, and he plays some star positions. His strats have never been wow. He barely talks, and he is not the one coming up with the game plan. It is Hallie. Chopper drags him 2 down, and the real spirit fix is to remove him and get a firepower upgrade instead of him. It says plus Zwei, kyousuke, Tenir, etc.
Who's in-game leading
now, what do they do since they do not have an IGL? Simple. Make magixx one or Zontix. Zontix is openly the one that calls many strats and is a secondary caller basically in voice comms and interviews. magixx likes to call every single game on Faceit, and he has a lot of experience, so he could do that too.
Yeah, cool story, bro. Well, I think it's HLTV rating who make these comments possible, because like a football, it's like why would take a goalkeeper, why would take a defender? We need 11 guy like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. Then our team will be number 1. That's just like pretty. Need to find right word. Not realistic, not adult, because you don't understand how much work IGLs do during the games, outside the game. You have to manage not only your team and your game and the moral and everything. And sometimes it's really hard to bring the numbers when someone says, "Look at Apex, he's like showing up so hard." But Chopper was getting a better stats when they were winning. And I think I look like a fanboy, but I know Leonid for a long time. I know, and I hear what he's saying to the team and what he's doing. So yeah, these guys can obviously write some nice masterpieces in science fiction. Very very interesting. I would read definitely in my spare time. But yeah, cool story, bro.
So good.
Okay, we have our last one. Thread is titled Spirit Aura by Lars H. And says, Spirit looks like lazy frauds nowadays because any news hook arises around are kind of dubious. Minus kyousuke situation. If you want to sell him, then why are you so confident that your firepower will be enough in future? If you wanted to keep him, but he refused, so it's more like management problem. It's your guy after all. Event skip. Team Skip It did well in 2024 with dodging events, actually one event, and won the major, but it's not enough to say that it's the winning recipe. If won't reach major finals this season, would feel extremely wasted. No bootcamps. I'm not saying they are necessary, but combined with previous points, it fells very wrong. I'm interested, who is this head whiner who asks for event skip and no bootcamps? Doubt Donk, magixx, probably Hallie, Chopper, and maybe Shiro. This team is becoming less likable day by day for these reasons. Even loyal Russian community is mocking off.
Wow.
We should actually have that as a
Wow.
role. Head whiner. Every team has to submit their head whiner, and we give a little like icon on HLTV.
I did like Headwiner. I also did like Team Skip It.
I think you should
That
do
was-
like award in the end of the year for the best story, like this.
Best for him.
Like, and then we make a movie or fanfic like anime about that. Where
Prof would love that actually.
yeah,
Yes, we would.
sometimes people like bring the things, like they feel it. I don't know how they know this, but yeah. The answer to this guy, just remind you, Navi when they sold Monacy. Obviously, no one would ever sell Monacy. But if you have the same players, on the same position, it happens. Like in football, it's the same. You have a good striker, but newcomer is coming, no place in the team, go to other. That's the situation. That's life. You're captain of this.
But it's also, I would rather have Ronaldo at right back than I would have Gary Neville at right back.
Yeah,
I just would. So in CS terms, I'd rather have Kyousuke playing Luck than him playing for my
but
direct rival in Falcons.
yes, but he wants to be a super player. He wants to be. He has this confidence. He understands that he don't want to be number 2. He wants to be number 1.
So he
And
just doesn't rate Nico then? Just thinks Nico's rubbish.
No, I don't think. I think Nico is great. I think Kyousuke is doing right thing. You can like change, but it at some point, yeah, you're staying in spirit. You are playing team. But you play in roles you don't like. You don't feel confident with that. Like you are not vocal in the team, and so I think it's the right choice. And such thing happens because it's sports. They raised a great player, but they can't fit him in the team because there is no place. That happened many times in Esports and 1,000 times in professional sport, and that's how the thing works.
All right. I think that wraps our discussion. But I have no more forum threads. There's a couple that already kind of touched on similar topics, like, minus magixx plus tenure. So I don't think we have to delve into more of them. I think I definitely think Hooch had his fill of forum fan fiction for today.
Too much already. I need to walk.
Sport
I need
mode
to,
user.
to take fresh air. After that, I will come back and open a HLTV forum and spend all night on this.
Touch some
Then you
girls.
find me crazy somewhere on the street that I'm saying.
It's
just
one of
wanted
my
to
favorite
give-
things. So just quickly is like most of like the public Wi-Fi's I connect to are IP banned on HLTV. It's like these guys are genuinely like they're on their train. They're like connected to like the train station Wi-Fi and just writing the most awful stuff on the forums, getting
But-
banned immediately. So now I can't go on HLTV when I'm like commuting.
But it's
insane.
funny, it's still funny. We had something like that in Russia. It's called Brable. They were making like these stories, but they were also bringing photos and stuff. You can post photos, right, on HLTVs. Something you should
To
add,
post
like,
HLTV photos, you can.
Yeah.
but you can put your photo.
Not your
like-
own ones, no.
No.
That's a new thing. Like we talk about with Prof to boost, fanfics on
I can imagine
HLTVs.
what they
So
would say.
Yeah, we need good moderators.
Yeah, we've got the best moderators, that's for sure.
We have AI Janti, who's been trained for 15 years before any other AI models came out. So,
It's a hard task, to be honest.
Hooch, before we leave, I want to give you a chance. Any parting words, anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I want to say that, like, let's guys give a chance to this lineup for a Spirit. I think everyone on this team deserves to win one more time. Obviously, yeah, with Vitality is number 1 favorites, but I think all streaks ends sooner or less. Obviously, I'm a fanboy of Spirit and I want this to happen, but I think we're just expecting too much from them. The tournament will show that like they're still good. I hope it's going to be a great event with a lot of unexpected matches, unexpected wins, because that's why we love Counter-Strike, yeah? And as I always say, play Counter-Strike, watch Counter-Strike, and love Counter-Strike. Thank you.